Merman! Merman! Remember in Zoolander, whenever he screams merman, whenever he's telling his dad, he says, you're prancing around in your underwear like a mermaid or whatever. Quoting the commercial that he had done. Well, we can't use that quote because of YouTube restrictions. The video would not be allowed to be played in like South Korea and Chechnya if I use that clip. So it's better if we abide by the fascism and move forward, lest lawyers descend upon us like pterodactyls in the Cretaceous era, or is it period? Wow, what is going on? I quit my job. That's right. Corporate America, beep you. I quit that, beep. So, yeah, that happened last week. Why, you say, am I quitting an almost six-figure job in a recession? Well, because I was gonna die, because I gained 50 pounds, because I thought I was having a heart attack at work a week before that, because I'm tired of dealing with everyone's beep. So that is why. So I have quit. I am going skulking back into the Nightlands DJing, and I will be doing something I promised that I would never do again, which is prostitute. No, which is bartend. Same thing, really, in Cobble Hill. So for those of you who live in New York and you want to come take shit up with me in person, come to camp on Thursdays, mother scucker. Bring your brass knuckles, because I be down. So today, what are we doing? So we're going to do a Tower. I want to call him Tarland, because that sounds cooler. It sounds like a bad old D&D name, but I can't call him that. It's Talrand Sky Summoner. Why am I playing this deck? Well, let me start by saying I don't think this deck is that good. I've been trying to build a Merfolk deck for the last 48 hours playing aggressively, and it is hard. And the more I play, the less of a Merfolk deck it becomes. We could have gone with Sig as the general, one of the two Sigs. I'm not talking about cigarettes, I'm talking about Sig, River Cutthroat, and Sig, River Guide. So it could have been blue-white, and, we could have added a bunch of terrible cards like Judge of Currents and crap, Stony Brook, Schoolmaster, or whatever the crap. We could have added all those terrible cards in. But, we could have got some good cards, too. I thought about making, like, an opposition deck, like having, like, Fallow Sage tap, and then, like, gaining, a card, and then playing, Marrow Commerce, and then I untap, and then I keep, and I get a draw. But that's just clunky, and it's not going to work because they'll take out one. The one good card gets destroyed by three people, and then suddenly I'm left with a bunch of bad cards that don't really do anything on their own. Incidentally, this deck is a lot of just bad cards that happen to work somewhat in tandem with each other. I have not won many games with this, I have to be completely honest, but I believe that I should stay the course. Why? It's been so long because of said former job that I've had any free time to build my decks, let alone update them. Here we are with, M13 is out, which is very cool, by the way. Kudos to WotC on that one. Clapping sound effect, banned in North Korea, so we won't be able to play that one. I like the new set. And I saw this guy, and then I had this guy, actually, my general here, in the first pre-resealed I did. And I had, this guy, Master of the Pearl Trident, and I had a couple, I had a really good little blue-black deck with some Merfolk, not a tremendous amount of Merfolk, it was more like a milling deck, and I won. And I really liked this guy, so I thought, you know what, I want to make a deck around him, even though a 2/2 for 4 is not tremendously great, especially a guy who just craps out other 2/2 creatures in a format where people are playing the most broken cards in the world and have gigantic flying guys that will easily deal with these. So what's the inspiration here? What's making me do this beyond I want to play this guy who apparently has like two little fish penises and they're covered up with two shells? And the artwork is very cool in this, by the way. It's a shame that the resolution is not so nice that we can see the actual coolness when we're logging in, because that weird purpley heart thing in his hand is like really cool, has some cool details. I don't know about the bedazzled Drake hide on his head. That's a little cornballish. So yeah, we could have went, and if I was going to do something, I was probably going to go blue-black, because then I could have played like Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor, and then I could have played like Tutor, and then I could have played like Computer Tutor. And but like what do I get for playing black? I get like what like um, the blue black pro green knight or something, and then what I get the blue white pro red knight if I play blue white. So what's the point? It seems silly, and so I thought let's play mono blue. Why? No mana problems. We can play like scary stuff like back to basics, though. Granted, it is hard to find a back to basics in a deck that is only one color. That does not have enchantment tutoring, which is another reason why I was thinking about playing white, but then I started playing Tundra and Hallowed Fountain or whatever the hell, and then, Back to Basics isn't as good. So I thought, let's play mono blue. So how can we make this guy good? Now, I will say this. Do I think he is the best Merfolk candidate for a general? No, I do not. I would probably think. I mean, the artwork on this is so awesome. By the way, I mean, I like how she looks like she wasn't expecting the picture to be taken, and then why she's just chilling with baby seals, and this one baby seal is like sad, and the other one is like shy. I think Thada Adele is probably, not probably, most definitely a better general. She's much scarier. She's quicker. The return is better. But you know what? We've seen Thada Adele decks, and then if I play a Thada Adele deck, it's more than likely not going to be a Merfolk deck anyway. I mean, what? We play Ambassador Laquatus. That's not going to be awesome either. So I feel comfortable playing this. So this is what we're going to go with. I don't think it's the best deck in the world, but you know what? It's okay every once in a while to just try to have some fun, right? So now that I'm jobless and going through corporate withdrawal, I figured I should reward myself by building a deck without any of my former discipline, insight, and creativity. So why do I like this guy? Okay, I like him because of his little ability to crap the guys out. I like him because he's a merfolk. I like him because now merfolk has like a badillion lord guys that make them better. So I thought, hey, he's not going to be a 2-2 more than likely. When he comes down, he's probably going to be a 3-3, a 4-4, something like that. Um, and the Drake thing is cool. I mean, would it be better if he made other merfolk? Hell yeah, it would be better if he made other merfolk. I don't know why a merman is worried about summoning crap in the sky. But hey, that's the way it works. So my thought with this deck was, let's play a bunch of the synergistic mer guys that are going to pump them up and make them bigger dudes. It'll be kind of like a weenie-ish deck, and we'll try to get in some counter spells, some control stuff, and we'll try to get in as many like free spells as we possibly can, or either cheap spells, so that we can benefit off of his baby-making skills. And yeah, we'll see how it works. And so far, it's working. It's not working awesome, but it's working. So let's just go ahead and I got things separated into piles. Of course, there's crossover as always, so let's just sort of go through and start talking about what's in the deck. So in terms of ramp, there's not much. I've got Soul Ring, I've got Mana Crypt, and I've got Medallion. That's it. Technically, if you want to say, Stony Brook Banneret is also like a Sapphire Medallion of sorts for the deck for many of the spells. I am not playing Extra Planar Lens. I am not playing Gauntlets of whatever the shit. I'm not playing, what's Caged Sun. I'm not playing any of that stuff because I don't want to go down that route. Because, quite frankly, by the time I get to the point where I'm casting those things, I should be probably doing something better than that anyway. And even though I'm playing Merfolk, I am not playing Coat of Arms. So, yes, maybe you would do that. Maybe you want to do that. But I'm telling you, I feel like you're just giving people... They don't have to kill your guys. They can just kill the one good card, and suddenly your guys are crappy. So it's just accept that you're playing like weenie-ish guys. Now, this is an interesting one because Skull Clamp, honestly, isn't so great in this deck. Like, hey, I just said Stony Brook Banneret, but guess what? She's getting pumped up all over the place. So I think Skull Clamp is good for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Skull Clamp is good, period, and it's awesome in a million decks. It's awesome all the time. Like, why would you never play it? But in this, you're not. It's not like you're playing in elves, even when elves have lords, and you can get that sort of like cycling return, kind of a deal going on. That's not really happening in this deck. It's more so throw it on the Drakes, and then the Drakes block, and you can draw. Or you put it on the guy that you're afraid that is going to get killed, as a, you know, sort of, not really, it's not like a body condom or anything, but it will most certainly uh, dissuade or at least give you some kind of return for losing your guys. Because, like I said, they're going to kill the important thing, and then once the important thing is dead, it's going to be like a house of cards and come down and cut your toes off. So Skull Clamp is not as abusive in this as it is in most decks, but I still think it's a fine and little addition. Lightning Greaves, sure, we want to protect things. You know, if we're making a Drake and we want to get in there and we're trying to get down and dirty, Greaves is going to help. I'm not playing Swift Boots. I was thinking about playing Swift Boots. I was thinking about playing like Sea Singer, but it just seems stupid. I mean, these guys are just little and vulnerable, and that dims the brakes, right? Jitte, you know, we're mono blue, so we don't have a tremendous amount of removal that isn't counterspell oriented or bounce stuff. So I figured Jitte would be a nice little addition because also we have the cheap rush coming down early. It gives us some life gain, it gives us some removal, and helps make our weenies more Viagra-ized, if you will. Sort of in Fire and Ice. Oh, and the other thing too is like we're going to talk about is, you know, another thing that these guys do is the Island Walk deal. So you know we've got some evasive creatures by way of Talrand, and we get by way of our loving little generals and whatnot. We typically can get some Island Walk action going on. So that makes the evasive evasion cool. This is more card draw, and it gives us a little bit of selective removal. Not a great deal, but some blue is played quite a bit. So obviously, if they're playing blue, they're probably playing island. So if you're island walking, giving them pro blue is kind of irrelevant, but you know, whatever. I just like the ridiculous neck muscles on this guy. He's got sweet traps. We're playing mono blue. Why wouldn't we play? Whoa, 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 whoa. Why wouldn't we play Shackles, right? Shackles is awesome. I'm not playing as many like theft effects as I want because I'm trying to kind of stay on theme here. And the theme is not necessarily Merfolk. It's just how can I make the deck jive within itself rather than it just being like a mono blue control deck that beats the crap out of people. We need this. I've looked for it a couple times actually today when I was playing just so that I could keep the instant sorcery train coming and keep the counter spells, you know, coming. So before we get into the Merfolk, I think it's important to say that there's not a tremendous amount of awesome Merfolk. You know, whereas you have the Goblin ringleader for, you know, Gabos, or even the stupid like elf one. The Merfolk one is a 1/2. And, you know, we're only playing 25 dudes, of which you can see here, there's, you know, well, I guess he counts as a merfolk, but got 1, 2, 3, 4 of our guys, or 5 of our guys aren't even mer dudes. So I think it's pretty unlikely that we will, I think it's called Tidal Career is the name of the card. I don't think that we would really get anything out of there. You know, another thing that sucks is like I wanted to play Augur of Bolas as another mer guy that was like letting me sort of, you know, like a Seagate Oracle kind of a thing, Court Hussar, but he's not good enough because we've got this really kind of even spread of spells and guys. So, you know, he may let me draw a card. He's probably just going to bottom a bunch of stuff that I would have referred to draw. So I took him out. So I guess it's important to say, like, here we've got, you know, Changeling. This is the only 2 Changelings that we have, really, is the Mutavault, technically, and then this guy. So he's already a mer dude, but the fact that he can become something else, like specifically another lord, is pretty good. He can become a legend killer, gives us a little bit of removal. Yeah, I think he's a fine little selection, especially for as cheap as he is. Phantasmal Image, you know, despite the fact that we have those 4 pieces of equipment, I think he's pretty good. He's cheap once again. And if anything, we can just... The good thing about these guys is they give us the flexibility to use our own opponent's creatures against them. I think one thing I'm kind of banking on with this deck is that people aren't going to take it that seriously. I don't think I come out of the gate as being much of a threat. And one of my cats is throwing up. Get off the couch when you're doing that! Oh my god. Are you kidding me? I'm making a video, weirdo. Go in there. Oh, come on. He just barked everywhere. Awesome. I'll clean that up later. Okay. By later, I mean Jen will clean it up. So we got Metamorph. That gives us some artifaction, which is nice. Sakashima is uber cool because we could even copy up our old Generale. We got Cackling Counterpart. I like this for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. You know, the instant speed is awesome. It is more limited. I was, torn between this and Rider Replication. I think it's pretty unlikely I'm going to get up to the point where I have 9 mana. So I like that it has the flashback, which, you're like, well, why would you get up to 7 mana? Well, there is a little bit of a difference. But the flashback is good because it gives me the opportunity to use the spell twice, which means I can, get some more mileage out of my general. This guy is one of the only guys who's not going to be able to become, he's got like this ridiculous mouthwash super soaker for a hand, and it just we've got a lot of these like freebie counter spells, so it's going to give us some more mileage out of our control, and it'll also get us some more mileage out of our general. I'd rather be playing another Merfolk guy. I don't know why Merfolk guys have to be so terrible. Maybe that will change in the future, but for right now, he makes the cut. This card I'm a little bit on the he's going to be a 2/2 most of the time, and the fact that he does make him cheaper, at the very least, if I draw this guy early, he's just fine. He even makes stupid Snapcaster Mage cheaper. He's probably silly, but I'm trying him out. Another reason why I'm trying him is because of the Sage of Fables. Talrand is a wizard. There's a number of guys that are wizards in the deck. Weirdly, a lot of the Merfolk guys just don't have a job. They're just Merfolk. They're just fish dudes, and they have no sort of focus or direction in life whatsoever. Anything more than just being like a cool Mohawky fish dude with tons of sweet abs. I figure the Sage will give me a little bit of a power boost on some of my guys, and will also let me draw some cards. Which the deck needs more card draw. Sure, we could put it in spell form, but, it's hard to not get a little cheesy casual with a deck like this, so I'm getting sort of sucked into that. Lord of Atlantis, Master of the Pearl Trident. They're identical. We got Coralhorn Commander, who I think he's quite good, actually. He very easily becomes a 3/3 flyer. And he can big up our dudes. We got Merfolk Sovereign. It's decent. Once again, another guy with no job. Dude becomes unblockable, so if we want to get a guy through that we couldn't get through before, that helps. We got Regery. He can help with the tapping and the untapping. There's not too many guys that have tap abilities in this deck, but he is quite good for what he does. He's, lets us big up our dudes. And, Automaton is technically a construct, but becomes a Merfolk, so that is also quite helpful. Other Merfolky guys we have is Silvergill Adept. There's another wizard. We got Scroll Thief. He's a rogue, but hey, he lets us draw cards if we get him through. If you get him early enough, you should be able to get through. If you get the Island Walk thing going, you'll get him through. Harbinger, here's our deck manipulator or tutor guy for the Merfolk that we want. He's got Island Walk. He's a bit expensive, but we've got another wizard. Sea Hunter. That's right. He is not also a Merfolk man. I apologize. I stand corrected. He, though, gives us the ability to dig for them and put them into play, which is quite nice. Waterfront Bouncer. The thing about him, he's fine. He's a really good card. We're not discarding Wonder or anything in this deck, unfortunately. It's quite hard to cut cards in this. That's how I feel. Like I want there to be like 2 or 3 other cards, and I've made some weird cuts. And I've got some cards in here that probably you're looking at and you're like, why the hell are you playing these? And I'll talk about it later. But hey, he gives us a little bit of removal. He gets like we can turn our extra lands and some dead cards into something. Same thing with this weird Lamprey dude. I like this. He's another wizard. He's a gray ogre, but that power seems kind of good. Like, especially for wrath effects, it seems like it's an aggressive and defensive power. He's got like this sweet like nipple, like he's pulling his bra up like it's Mardi Gras. He's obviously climaxing or something. I don't know, but I want to give him a shot. He's kind of a weird call, but I think it's cool. Surge Spanner, you know, here we are. It's like Talrand. We've got a 2/2 for 4. When he becomes tapped, you know, other than Reejerey, him attacking is going to be the only time that's going to happen. So, you know, he's a wizard. You know, I don't know. You could play like Azami and all these other guys in the deck to get all these weird abusive things and make, you know, have more wizards for your Sage of Fables, blah 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 blah. But you know what? I don't really care. So quit talking. Empress Galena, another jobless merfolk. I think she's fine. So gain control. It's pretty good. And it lasts indefinitely. So she's quite expensive, but you know, that's a pretty powerful little effect. Thada Adele, we've talked about, very good. I mean, you know, she could easily be the General. This guy, I don't think this guy's great. I'm not gonna lie. Lull Mage Mentor. Whenever spell or ability control. So basically, you make a baby dude when you counter something, and then you can tap 7 Merfolk and counter something. If we were playing like Merfolk Commerce and we had like, you know, Arcane Lab or something in play, yeah, he would be a friggin' house. But how is that ever going to happen? It's not. So maybe that should be the deck, right? And then Wakefasher is just like a brute, as you can tell by the sweet art. He looks like he should be like fighting the Hulk or something. So in terms of like bouncy stuff, other than Waterfront Bouncer and the Surge Spanner, Snap is free. That's why I'm playing that with this, because I can get it, make a baby, untap, and then get some more mileage out of my lands. Submerge is free. If there's a forest in play. I mean, how often when you play a 4-player game is someone not playing green? You know what? And if they're not, I'm willing to take the hit for it being in my deck as a 5 cast. And putting something on top is pretty good, no doubt. You know, you could potentially even get rid of someone's general if they're using a tutor effect with something like this, and they'll shuffle their guy away. So that's also pretty good. Inundate is quite expensive, but look, there's a Merfolk in the picture, so I had to play it, right? No. We're playing this because of the fact that it can bounce everybody's guys. Obviously, we're going to end up with our Adaptive Automaton back in our hand, but other than that, you know, we get quite a bit of mileage out of this. It's like a weird blue, or, you know, it's like a everybody else, unless they're blue guys, obviously, get bouncy. And it's been really good so far. Counter spells, and I realize I should have put Daze down here, but Daze is a free, and we've got a really low curve, so even like getting that 1 land back in our hands is not a tremendous big deal. I feel like actually Force Spike would probably be really good in this deck with the way people play. You know, everyone's trying to maximize their mana efficiency every single turn and get every bit of mileage they can out of it. So a card like this is going to get rid of something, and probably something substantial. You know, you might be using this little silly thing to get rid of like someone's 7 class general or whatnot. Talrand is also, you know, it's also good with Talrand. Remand is fine. It just, you know what, it cantrips, it's going to make a dude, it's going to slow them down. Mana Drain, while it costs 2, is going to give you some mana, hopefully some really awesome mana. I'm playing Muddle the Mixture over Counterspell because I have like a number of 2-cast cards that I think are quite good, so I would prefer to have the opportunity to dig for one of those. Like, let's say, you know, I want to make all my Murdudes get Island Walk and go for the W. I need to be able to go get one of my 2 Duder my Bobs in that category. We're playing Hinder and Spell Crumple for more bottomage. Cryptic Command is obviously really good in a deck like this. Thwart is kind of like Daze on crack because the cost is much more prohibitive, but later in the game I don't think that's such a big deal. And once again, we need to, you know, the worst thing that could happen would be you pay full cost for your general, you put him down and they kill him, and you got nothing out of it. So that's why all these cards, Thwart, Force of Will, Misdirection, Pact of Negation, Daze, they give us an opportunity to, you know, protect him a little better, and also get our Drake on. You know, I was just reading like a Conley Woods article about this particular guy for like Standard and other formats, and you know, think he was making a comment about trying to get as much mileage as you can out of him right away. So, you know, like playing things like Gitaxian Probe or something like that. So I think cards like and honestly, I really like playing these three cards in most decks in which in decks that I can actually afford to play them in. If there's like some wiggle room, they feel kind of marginal, but in a deck like this, I think they're quite good because I'm going to get the cheapo effect, and then I'm going to get a baby out of it as well. So it gives me a little bit of deck manipulation, some shuffleage, etc. Another free spell. Yeah, 2 islands for 2 cards, but hey, you know what? Like, it might not even be a big deal, especially if we get to that point where we can bounce a land and get, we don't have a land in our hand, we can bounce the land, tap, bounce the land, put it back down, and get an extra mana. That's good. Fact or Fiction, obviously very good. Future Sight's probably a bit on the greedy side. We are mono blue. We do have our 4 shuffly sack lands, our fetch lands over here. Like I said, we've got the Preordain and the Brainstorm and the Ponder to let us shuffle a little more. I just love it so much. It's really high end. It's like one of my favorite cards ever made, so I want to play it, and that's that. This gives us one big powerful redrawer. It's kind of weenie-ish, so we can probably run out of gas pretty quick. And when you're playing 11 counter spells, it's a good idea to keep your hand full as possible. And this is something we need to talk about. I was formerly of the opinion, and I think I've mentioned this before, that counterspells were terrible in this format because they're 1-for-1s. Even if it's something like Remand or cantripping or whatever. But the thing about this format is often it's just like I was saying, they only have to take out the key component to what's making your deck interact in a cool way, and then suddenly I just have a bunch of crappy, fish market guys, and they're not as awesome as they seem. So by that same logic, we can do the same thing with counterspells. We can selectively cripple people's decks. Sure, everyone's deck is not just like one linchpin and that's it, and it all just comes down with my little House of Card analogy, but a House of Cards rather analogy. But I do find that counterspells are like they're target, pinpoint, backbreak, awesomeness more times than not. So here we got some deck manipulation. Mystical Tutor, cheapy, works great with him. Gives us a big redrawer or inundate or submerge, whatever we need. A counter spell, and then we pop our top, which I did recently. And, Merchant Scroll, wow, check it out, awesome art. Again, we're going to get a guy out of it, and then we're going to get another card that we can use. Fabricate, we have a number of artifacts that are quite useful, so I feel like Fabricate's pretty good in this deck. The last thing is like the land wonkers right here. I guess we should talk about. So, I'm not just playing this because it's a tribal card. I am playing this because it's a sorcery. It works with our guy. It can make a guy with no islands have an island, and suddenly we can start banging on people. So yeah, that's pretty good. For the same reason I'm playing Spreading Seas, and I had it today where I was playing against a guy who was playing a Child of Alara deck, and I totally made him lose 2 turns by playing Spreading Seas. Quicksilver Fountain, same thing, and it screws with their mana. Back to Basics, it's the same thing. There's part of me that wants to play Drift of Phantasms just so that I could get to Back to Basics more often, but I don't know. I'll probably work it back in. It's just, I would even pay 6 for Back to Basics most of the time. I mean, we effectively have only 2 lands that it affects out of our, 37 lands. So it's very good in this deck. I mean, enough people play monocolor decks and play basics. There are some obvious greed decks out there that this can cripple. I lost said game that I was just remarking about against Child of Alara because he had basics out. So what are you going to do? So yeah, we've got a number of basic lands here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 31 islands. We got our 4 fetchers. Is that right? Yeah, 31. Yeah. Then we got Strip Mine could really easily just be another island. Things like Thwart and Gush make me worry a little bit. Even if you have like Island and one of these 2, and in your hand would have been Rock and Roll with like Lord of Atlantis and thing, Coral Helm guy, etc. It makes me a little hesitant. You could probably just make this an island. I just like to have the flexibility to stick it in and break it off if need be. And then Mutavault is another Mer guy. So, yeah, that's the deck. So, you could play Teleria West if you want to go get this, your Mana Crypt. for some rampageuage. Like I don't even explain these anymore. You know, go get your strip mine or your mutable. But I really have a thing against come to play tapped lands. So this is Zosduk. So let us go ahead and fire up a game, and you can watch me lose. Okay. Peace. Oh. Sweetheart, I just was not recording that entire time. Oh, I am. I'm recording. Ha